Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to another episode of my F1 24 career mode. This is part number 34 today for the Italian Grand Prix in Season 2. If you guys did miss the previous episode though, at the Belgium Grand Prix, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. We started that episode actually with a surprise secret meeting from, of all people, Red Bull, our rivals in the first season, and I was considering it, and after that meeting, well, the race really didn't go to plan. McLaren, kind of almost like in real life, fumbling it on a strategy where we could have easily won the race or fighting for the win, at least minimum. And they threw my race away with a two-stop. I should have ignored them. Should have gone with my gut, maybe of continuing on the hard compounded tyre. And also maybe just have seen the writing on the wall in terms of others not pitting under an early virtual safety car. And so it meant we threw away a load of points. While Fernando Alonso, he didn't quite win the race, but he was high enough to really capitalize and bring down the points gap to only 6 points. He trails us going into the Italian Grand Prix, but it was Leclerc for Ferrari who won that Belgium GP. Great timing for him and Ferrari going into their home race now off the back of the win. They should be galvanized and energized with their first win of the entire season, really. So maybe Ferrari on the up potentially. Alonso definitely on the up, it would seem there. You know, a man who's been so consistent, but is just looking quicker and quicker as Aston Martin continue to apply the pressure to myself in the championship. Constructors, it's a little bit less in the balance. You know, myself and Lando are a very strong pairing, but yeah, in the Drivers' Championship, Alonso continues to try his best to chase us down, but we are getting more recognition in the team, up to 45%, 5% off still, a second secret upgrade. But elsewhere, doing well in our rivalries, in the teammate championship one, we're actually losing to Pierre Gasly right now in the driver rating. Of course, we're in a rivalry with Pierre Gasly. It wouldn't be the F1 game if we weren't. But yeah, the rating, you know, we're a bit further behind. He's on 87, we're 86. But soon come, we're halfway to 87, and he's only just creeped in to 87 rated. So we're not far off. And, you know, that basically means we're not far off being within kind of almost the reach of the top 10 drivers on this grid. It kind of feels like that would be quite a fitting time for us to actually see this championship through, but there's still a fair few races to go and nothing is guaranteed, as was the case there in Spa. We weren't guaranteed to be fighting for first place. We made a blunder as a team. McLaren made a blunder with the strategy and it cost us dearly, but thank God Lando, I'm actually saying this, had done some good work buying those R&D upgrades that he did buy. I think it was one major and a minor upgrade that he bought in the last 3 episodes, and they've both come in time for Monza, and thank God that he did, because look at this, Aston Martin and Mercedes, and at the bottom, Alpine, I think that is, making some huge strides. But Aston and Mercedes with some real aggressive upgrades to both streak away from Red Bull and Ferrari, who are pretty much on top of each other on the R&D chart. But you can see the trajectory. If we had plateaued and not brought an upgrade, we would have been behind Aston Martin going into Monza. So thank God that Lando did have the R&D to purchase those upgrades. So even in high inflation, teams making big upgrades. But ironically, thanks to our teammate, we are just managing to stay ahead on paper versus our rivals. If it wasn't for him, we actually would be behind by now, like I was worrying about at the start of the season. And it still may be a worry that comes into fruition, because I have a bad feeling that these guys might be winding up more upgrades, and whereas me, I've got no R&D to buy an upgrade just yet at the moment for another maybe episode or 2. Aston Martin as close as they ever have been in the recent couple of episodes. This could get juicy as we go into the Italian GP.
They call it the Temple of Speed, and the pilgrims have come to worship. It's all about the speed today. Qualifying awaits us. Welcome to Monza for the Italian Grand Prix.
It is all about the speed here at Monza, and it's something that our car has been okay at, but there have been other cars around us that have clearly had some great top-line speed. I even said that maybe the likes of Sauber or Haas might be quite good around here, because at Spa, they seemed very good versus me toe-to-toe in a drag race. down the Kemmel Straight. Well, it's a good day to start off in Q1. Myself and Lando up there in 3 and 4. But look at that, familiar names. Leclerc and Alonso, the two leading men in the Belgium Grand Prix, they're leading the way here in Q1. So maybe they've both really got focused in since that race. And, well, that's not great news for me in terms of Alonso being focused. Leclerc obviously really isn't in the championship fight, so he could just be a spanner in the works, but he could do me a favour and maybe take points off Alonso, potentially, if we're all close together. But in Q2, we do respond. At the moment, we're quickest of all. Lando's in second place. Eventually, Leclerc does come in, but look at that. Alonso now down to P4. So, if the race was something like this, that would be pretty good for me, for Alonso being all the way down in P4 with Lando and Leclerc helping us out. But look at that. Look at that. What did I say? Sauber actually looking pretty amazing. They're the bottom team in R&D terms, but it seems like all they've got is straight line and vibes, because at Spa that was clear, and here at Monza, where that's all that matters, both of them into the top 10 shootout. They're both out-qualified Perez in the Red Bull, for goodness sake. Williams and Albon do the same, so no wonder Red Bull are talking to us about replacing, I'm guessing, Sergio Perez, one would assume, basically, but both Astons are through, and, well, it's a bit of a disaster, if you really think about it, for both Mercedes. They brought the same sort of level of upgrades as Aston Martin, had the same sort of improvement, and they're both out. Hamilton P11, Russell P12. Toto is going to be very disappointed about that. Maybe their upgrades have actually not worked and they've made the car slower in some weird, funny ways. We go into the top 10 shootout now. We know we have some pace there. We were top of the session in Q2, but Leclerc and Alonso were quick previously, so we need to deliver when it matters. But you just saw there through the first 2 turns, that wasn't exactly the best first few corners at Monza. Took a bit too much curb, unsettled the car. Lando goes quickest of all at the moment as we lock up on the front left. We again clout the curb and take too much of it, and we dip a tyre into the gravel. We see that a few times in real life as well. It's very easy to do, and we've done just that. We're down in P6. We're behind a Sauber. Bottas has gone quicker. That cannot run, as we're not even improving the first sector. Yellow first sector. What is going on here? At Monza, we're going to go green in the second sector. We're going to improve in the final corner and pick up enough time maybe to catapult us up from P6. Is just under 4/10 of a second gained, and it gets us from P6 to 4 to join Lando on the second row. But it's Fernando Alonso, of course it is. In the context of going into this race, of course, he is the one who's got pole position. Fantastic. Leclerc, second place. So, like I said, those two, the two leading men at Belgium, clearly, as drivers, they've taken a huge amount of focus and momentum going into this race weekend. But, again, take a bow, kick Sauber, especially Bottas there, up in P6 ahead of Max Verstappen in the Red Bull. That's pretty crazy for him. We've done well to recover. There was some time on the table, but if you look at the time gaps, maybe the time I lost in the first sector would have only got me just ahead of Lando, maybe just ahead of Leclerc, but Alonso had nearly a quarter of a second in his back pocket to get pole position, so he really is the star man. Those upgrades working well for him. Let's see if we can overturn them, and I'm hoping they don't work as well in race conditions, so let's go to the grid.
Welcome to the home of the Parabolica, now known as the Curva Alboreto, in tribute to the Italian motorsport legend Michele Alboreto. It's a long right-hander. It dares you to keep your foot as far down on the throttle as you possibly can. It's one of the great corners on the calendar, and we're here at Monza, ahead of the Italian Grand Prix. With top speeds up to 215 and an average lap speed of around 155 miles per hour, Monza's reputation as one of the fastest circuits in the sport is well earned. We have 11 corners on this 3.6 mile track, with the best overtaking chance coming into the heavy braking zone of the Turn 1 chicane. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Fernando Alonso lines up on pole position, and it's Charles Leclerc in P2. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Norris and McLaren, Sainz, Bottas, Verstappen, Stroll, Hamilton, Russell, Ocon, Hülkenberg, Oscar Piastri, Perez, Sargent, Albon, Gasly, Tsunoda, Ricciardo and Zhou Guanyu. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out then. Let's see who can prevail today. And striding into our commentary box to join us today, the man, the myth, the legend, Anthony Davidson. I know what we've got to do before the start of today's race, but what about our driver? What do the final hours look like for them?
Well, for them, you've got your pre-race rituals that you go through. You see different drivers that, some have got their headphones on, they're listening to the music. Some drivers really absorb the energy from the crowd and they're there waving to them. Other drivers, they go within themselves. They chat to their engineers, absorbing that information, that vital information that you need to carry you through the race. And, those pre-race rituals are essential to making things systematic. We do a lot of Grand Prix in a season, and the more systematic you can be, the easier you are within that environment.
We're going to have to be on our toes today. Monza, especially on the F1 game, is a slipstream fest. And it's kind of like playing chess. You kind of almost want to be in second place, maybe, or going on to the last lap, or if you have the luxury of breaking DRS, that's probably the best option, really. But I don't feel like that's going to happen. The grid is so tight. It's getting even tighter, really, if you think about it, with Aston and Mercedes are bringing upgrades. But Surprise is also behind, with Sauber up here in P6. It's the first time seeing a Sauber on the top left of the heads-up display as we get ready for this race. But Alonso, our championship rival, crucially on pole position, so we need to get a good start to try and charge towards him. Ferrari on the front row, though, the fans will be loving that as we go to 5 red lights here at the Temple of Speed for the Italian Grand Prix. Lights out and we're underway. Alonso and Leclerc have a pretty similar start. Lando's had a pretty horrendous getaway, and Bottas might even overtake him. The Sauber has had an electric start. We go around the outside, we're trying our best to attack Leclerc. I thought I could maybe get it down the inside at turn 2, but the Ferrari had it covered. But look at that behind us. Bottas up to 4th place. 2 overtakes off the start as Leclerc, I'm sure, doesn't use too much battery. We use enough to try and get this overtake done. We get the elbow out and we get into 2nd place, and we've used that much battery to get ahead early because I want to try and stick with Alonso. But as we go on to lap 3, look at the top left. He's broken DRS. Alonso is cooking. He set the fast up the Grand Prix initially. We've now set purple. Doesn't matter that we set purple. Don't have DRS on Alonso. Leclerc had DRS on me, and he's the one that's made the overtake, ironically, to now go within 1 second of the Spaniard. But Leclerc and Alonso, genuinely, they're looking like they've really woken up now in this season. Right up here, ready for the fight. Leclerc may just go for the lead here. Lando is behind me. He's now set purple as the top 4 break away from Bottas. We're going maybe for the double pass. We've overtaken Alonso. Now down the inside of Leclerc. It's going to be oh so tight. Both of us clouting the curbs. Leclerc almost drove into us there. We had to do a bit of avoiding action because I could see the writing on the wall that he was going to hop over that curb and just maybe going towards the racing line. And instead, we play the patient game. He covers the inside so aggressively, and then we try to go around the outside, and Leclerc places his car so awkwardly but perfectly, obviously from his perspective, to defend 1st place. That was a real good bit of defensive driving, and we have to remain in 2nd place. You can see where I'm losing time. It's in the corners, actually. In the straight line, we're able to gain with enough battery use, but in the corners right now, these guys seem a bit quicker as Alonso pulls through on the right, and Lando, annoyingly, goes to the left, and he completely puts me in a compromised position because I just couldn't go as aggressive into that corner, knowing that his nose may have been there, because if I turned in too early and he's committed, that would have been a crash. So that was a bit frustrating from our teammate. Yet again, a bit of a thorn in our side, and ironically now he's not even attacking us. Verstappen's attacking him. After all of that, he's just lost himself some time to the Red Bull, who'll be wanting to make up what happened last episode. Remember, Verstappen with a DNF around Spa, frustrating times for him as he was seemingly maybe just getting momentum in the season with 2 wins in the previous 5 episodes before Spa, as Leclerc is in P1, Alonso 2nd then, and there's some swapping going on, and well, Perez is fighting a Haas for P13, not even P10, P13. You can actually see maybe why Red Bull might even be desperate to talk to us, talk to anyone, really, to get someone in that 2nd seat, because Perez, Well, at least the game's very realistic. He's out the points and fighting a Haas. That's very realistic. As Alonso now, focusing on him, is looking to get back into first place. This is just going to be a swap fest probably for the entire race, but it's very exciting because who knows where will it end up, as Alonso actually doesn't make the move. He doesn't pull it off. Mark is giving us the hurry up. He's told us to overtake Alonso before lap 10. We're going to try and do it onto lap 6 maybe. Alonso, very defensive, stays to the right. We go to the left. We're around the outside. Technically, we've made the overtake, but on the exit, Alonso actually comes back at us and says, oh no, Bottas. Oh no, after Sauber had such a great start, Bottas is out of the race and we're still in a drag race versus Alonso, both of us with DRS, but through maybe goes Lando Norris on the right. You saw his proximity arrow, he got in the middle a bit, and we're still having this squabble with Alonso, both of us with DRS, and the Aston Martin was slightly quicker, so maybe they have brought upgrades to improve the straight line speed of that green machine as we look to try and overtake, but Alonso is just too much for us. Didn't have the confidence under braking there, but it actually might be for the better as we now look to maybe make a double pass on Alonso and Leclerc. As Alonso overtakes the Ferrari, we couldn't quite get to the inside of the Aston Martin, but we do at least gain one position in the race. We haven't overtaken Alonso still, but we're now up to second, so at least there's that, and we are within 1 second of the leader. So now, for the very first time, could we get into P1 of this race? We slide through Lascari, we are into P1. Lando's dispatch of Leclerc and keeping at bay at the moment, which is pretty good, so it's a 1-3 for McLaren, but 2 laps later, Alonso keeping us honest, and now he's having a little bit of a sniff on the left-hand side. We defend, but we are a little bit off grip in the middle of the corner, and Alonso actually basically switchbacks us from left to right and gets a much better exit as things are getting proper cozy. He's there on the right, but Lando is even further on the right. He's gone through both of us. He just shot through. The same for Leclerc. It's all swapping. There are 5 cars in the same bit of the track. You could throw a cloth over them. Ridiculous stuff here. And Lando has come out on top in P1 out of all that. We're second place. Leclerc third. Alonso's down to P5. He went from going for first place there down to P5. That's unbelievable. As Leclerc puts the pressure on the inside, we have to step out throttle and we just don't have the front end anymore. And I think, you know what? This is time to come in. The lack of grip at the last corner, it's showing. But Leclerc comes in as well. So we, in the end, cover off the Ferrari. Wasn't planning to. Didn't know he was going to come in. But it's definitely time for me to come in because my front end, it just isn't biting as much as it was. And looking forward to this set of hard tyres and also the undercut. Obviously should be pretty decent. It's a great pit stop from McLaren. Annoyingly, he goes through Leclerc. That could have been us ahead of him, maybe just if we were just a little bit quicker. 2.5, it was a, I don't know, like a 2.2. We could have been ahead of the Ferrari, but it is what it is. We are still right here with Leclerc, and both myself and him will be getting an undercut. Although initially I go very aggressive to try and overtake him immediately into the first 2 turns, and we're all over the back of him, deploying ERS. But then at this point, I'd start to think, hang on a minute, maybe I shouldn't fight him too much. Let's actually back off on purpose. You can see there, I literally lifted because I thought, okay, it seems a bit counterintuitive, but let's not fight him now in order to both gain much bigger with the undercut. Because if we fight too much, we're not going to gain enough. So we're going to use him to get DRS and pull ourselves along. And now, 2 laps later, lap 14, as we overtake Lando and Alonso, this is the time to make our move for first place in the race. Leclerc on the outside does really well to outbrake us. We lock the rear a bit. Leclerc over the curb. Oh, it's a beautiful textbook switchback. That was like a choreographed dance as we waited for Leclerc to come across on the curb. Switched it perfectly, inches away from maybe making a bit of contact, and now through side by side on the Curva Grande as we're up into first place of this GP, and we've got a 2.5 gap to Verstappen, Norris. Alonso's down in P7. What's happened to him? Alonso, I think Aston Martin have fluffed the pit stop, surely, as he's behind the 2 Mercedes, who have recovered well after a disappointing qualifying, but Leclerc immediately on the back of us, and there's no point fighting that because he's just going to fly through with DRS, and we're going to swap again, and all the while you can see the gap is coming down to the 3rd place man. So even though I'm trying my best not to fight Leclerc too much in terms of holding ourselves up. It's just natural that you lose time going side by side, And I was hoping myself and Leclerc could kind of maybe DRS train off each other and push away. The opposite's happened. We've lost that time eventually, and we're now lap 17, 10 laps to go in this race, and not only is Leclerc coming through, Lando's coming through. Look at him go! Both of them have overtaken us. We wanted to try and maintain second place, but Lando was far too alongside us. At least this time he didn't awkwardly just stick his nose in there, but we're down to third now all of a sudden, so that undercut advantage has been eroded, and we've now got Hamilton and Verstappen for company. I mean, there's a big train as we lose the rear end of it, so how are we sliding through Parabolica on the hards? We don't even have that much tyre wear, so that's a little bit concerning as Lando goes for the move on the Ferrari. We're gaining, but we just can't make the move. I just thought it's just going to be silly to dive down the inside there. Let's just be patient, get the overtake done on the exit here. Leclerc a little bit flustered behind our teammate, and the Ferrari's actually really slow off that corner. Maybe no battery to use after trying to defend our teammate as we get up into second place. It's a 1-2 for McLaren here at Monza, but we're going to look to make a swap. We're so far back because Lando's great in the corners, but look at the overspeed with ERS, DRS. We get ahead into first, but under braking again. Lando is amazing on the braking, and he comes across the curb. He's kept his foot in. It was side by side through the first two corners, but we maintain the race lead. And with Alonso creeping back up into the top 5, this is a crucial win that we absolutely have to aim for.
Okay, mate, and that's one goal behind. They're faster than you, mate. They're faster than you, so let them through, please.
No, not again. Not again, Mark. Not again, McLaren. I refuse. I absolutely refuse. What are you on about? What are you on about? For the second time this season, we've overtaken our teammate and then get given a team order to give him the position back.
The longer I spend behind now, the worse you're going to make the race for me. So it's just ruining the race now. I'm way quicker. I'm just in the dirt again.
We're going to swap positions.
Well, that is not happening one bit. We are refusing to let him by. We're blocking him off as Leclerc goes through, and thankfully Mark come to his senses because he sees that Ferrari, a team that is not us, is still fighting us, so there's no point giving us team orders, but the damage has been done, Mark. You've already shown your hand as we look to re-pass Lando and then get back up into first place. The Ferrari goes defensive. Oh, it's close. We nearly make contact. There is contact. It's ping pong at turn 1, and we get pinched in by Leclerc and our teammate, and we've got damage. We've got damage on the floor. For goodness sake. For goodness sake, McLaren, what are we playing at? What are we playing at? Alonso might be up to P4 now. Look at the top left. He was fighting Hamilton as we re-overtake Lando. What are we playing at, McLaren? What is going on? As just look at this. Look at what is that racing line across the curb? That's absolutely... I'm calling George Russell a terrorist for moves like that. That was terrorism from Lando. I'm sorry. That was just absolutely absurd. That was absurd. And oh my God. Alonso's through. Alonso's through. Because we've got damage on the floor, and that's severely hurting me at corners like Parabolica, where you really need some balance with the aero and general car itself. Is Alonso's made the move for P2. Alonso, we've gone from leading the race with Alonso maybe even outside the top 5 to now Alonso is in second. We're behind in P4. Leclerc, he's just absolutely bolted, and it's no thanks to this man who gives us no room on the left. What? Mark wants us to overtake. What is this man smoking? What is he smoking? Because it must be some great stuff. What does he want? What does he want? As we now get overtaken by both our fellow compatriots, Lando and Lewis, either side of us. Merck and McLaren, we go for the repass, but Lando is playing it hard and fast. We're giving us the room to work with. We were squeezed onto the grass on the previous occasion, and now this time Hamilton, he will hold the inside line and very awkwardly parks it, and I just can't make a move there, but we will remain in 4th place and very much so close the door on Lando Norris as we look to try and get up into P3, but P2's gone. P2's gone. P1's gone. P2's gone. Alonso's gone. We're going to lose points to Alonso now, and I'm limping around with this damage on the floor, or even the side pods. It could be both. It's hard to tell on the heads-up display, and we're just losing time every time we go through Parabolica. It's the worst corner for it. The rest of them are alright, the low-speed corners, but high-speed, absolutely on the ropes as we go for the double repass, get back up into third place as we go on towards the second last lap of the Grand Prix though. Lando flies by us with DRS. We can't defend that. Thankfully, Hamilton has lost pace and is fighting Sainz for P5. So this is now the fight we're locked into for the last lap and a bit with our teammate for the last step of the podium. He's already cost us P1, P2 to our championship rival. So you absolutely know that I'm not letting this third place go. As we go on to the final lap of the Grand Prix, the Tifosi are loving this. Leclerc is on for back-to-back wins from Spa to Monza, just as he did for his first ever 2 F1 race wins, as we defiantly overtake Lando into turn 1 on the last lap to get back up into third place to limit the damage. This is the kind of race you have to try and do the maximum to limit the damage. Even with the slow car we have to try and keep this third place. Lando comes back at us. Oh, bit of a squeeze, a bit more contact. Zach Brown, Andrea Stella, they're going to be tearing their hair out. There's going to be no debrief for me at the end of this race because there's nothing to talk about. Absolute travesty going on the McLaren pit wall, and it's going to keep on going to the end of this race because Lando has DRS on this last bit of the track. The Ferrari leads from Alonso. Will it be me or will it be Lando in third? He's on the inside. We just do enough to stay ahead onto the last straight towards Parabolica, trying to break the toe, but ahead of us Leclerc rounds the final bend from Spa to Monza. He wins again this back-to-back duo.
Grazie mille, grazie a tutti, siete dei grandi, mamma mia, mamma mia.
Alonso in second place. It's the same top 2 as it was in Spa, but we are crucially just coming over the line in P3. But the gloves are off. The illusion is done. I'm done with this team. I'm done. We're leaving and end the season. I don't know who for, but we're done. We're done.
And Leclerc to the line, to the checkered flag. It's King Charles today. He wins.
And it's always good, Crofty, to get that momentum on your side, and it's really good for your confidence as well. The more confident you are, the further that can take you.
Ferrari are at it again. An excellent performance at today's Grand Prix, and they're certainly a team that know what they're doing out there.
That is a big back-to-back win for Leclerc. That gets him into third place in the championship. He's 1 point ahead of Lando. If he continues like this, he could make a late dark horse charge, ironic with the dark horse and the Ferrari logo, to charge through to fight for the championship. Maybe that would be unreal, very surprising as well. But Alonso gets points on us, and he is now only 3 points behind us. It is getting closer and closer, and Aston are only getting quicker and quicker. And you know what? We have not made the most of our car. We've not made the most of when this car was clearly out in front. We've just not. Yeah, we've had some race wins. What a messy Italian Grand Prix. More controversy here with team orders. But guys, if you haven't enjoyed it, hit the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're around here, then do get subscribed for weekly full-on content. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.